describes the birth of a nation, a spectacular new exhibition, unlocking the cathedral's stories and treasures. Four impressive galleries span over 3 levels and offer a remarkable bird's eye view of the cathedral. A war memorial featuring a of England in 1066. Though very little of these buildings remain, archaeological evidence suggests that the palace kitchens may have been sited at what is now 20 to 29 High Street. You can see a plaque commemorating William's palace expand